Morning, everyone. I hope we're not lagging too much as I am starting this meeting from a different location. You probably recognize the beautiful hotel background. Um, so hopefully everything will go well, and we will get this shared in the Facebook group as soon as we can get there. Okay, let's see if I click there. Click here. Okay, there. Because we have to find where it is posted this. And I'm not finding it. Okay, now I'm in me. Okay, where is it? There I am. Wait, I moved my cursor, my mouse, and it went away. There we are. Okay. Now let me share it in the gardening tips group, and then we can get this show on the road. And please click into the video to comment and see resources. We post. Okay, and I'm going to post that in. It didn't, but we'll see what happens here. And that says shared to the group. That is a good thing. And get it.
I see us.
Yay, you found us.
And I'm going to pin to feature.
Okay, I just unpinned last week's.
All right,
Okay.
we're up there.
Okay,
All right.
awesome. And I'm where I can watch the comments. And
I'll type, please click into
really
the
get
video.
going.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, it should say that on top. Did I not get that there? Okay, and then I'm gonna do the at everyone. Okay. And I think we're going. Yay. Okay, so someone alerted us and I noticed it and wasn't sure what it means. It says that there's an AI enabled in our group, and I try to figure out how to turn that off. In the correct answers, and we just want people to be answering. We don't want an AI searching the internet to try to figure out answers and not knowing stuff about East Tennessee and our region specifically, how to turn that off. And so you should see that disappearing before too long. We just haven't had time to try to figure out how to do that. Okay. Good morning. This is Gardening Tips Live, and I think joining you from many different locations. My name is Amy Hahn, and I'm a Knox County Master Gardener, and I'm joined by my friends and fellow Master Gardeners, Lee Cheek, Toby Johnson, and Margot Emery, and we're here to talk gardening. It's been a really warm spring so far, but I want to give you a little hope. Let me go ahead and share my screen. And I've got to get where I can see the share screen button, which I can't right now. I am working on a different computer than usual. Okay, there we go. So this is my tomato, pepper, and basil plants that I started. And you can see they're really small. But here in East Tennessee, we do have a long season, and so it's not a problem. We still have plenty of time for these to grow and produce. This is last week, last Saturday. This is how they look yesterday. So they've already grown quite a bit. I do what's called mass sowing. So you can see these little containers have lots of plants in them. And so when I get home from where I am right now, I will be gently dumping each whole container carefully and pulling apart the seedlings. If you do this, one of the big things to know, okay, so these are tomatoes here. And in another couple weeks, probably 2 more weeks, they will be fully a good size to plant. And by then the peppers will be big enough to plant too. I will want to give them a week or so to harden off so they know how to live outdoors.
And
And
you are going to have a couple of nights in the 40s.
right, and
They're coming
yeah,
up.
we still have a couple nights in the 40s to come. And I think at this point, given our forecast, those are probably going to be our lowest temperatures. Just so you know, basil doesn't like temperatures under 50 degrees and will really suffer. Peppers don't like it under 50 degrees. And so they will just go into a real slow down, and it takes them
I
a
bought a
while to
couple of
recover.
I bought a couple
And
of pepper
tomatoes go out.
transplants, and I'm gonna bring
Mhm.
them inside. I bought a couple of pepper transplants. I know it's early, but I was at
Yeah,
Aaron's Meadow, and there were varieties I wanted. And the plan is watching the forecast, and any
Mhm.
40s we get near, I bring them inside.
Yeah, and that's a good, really good strategy. Because if you wait, a lot of times if you wait, you lose selection. You know, the really nice tomatoes and pepper varieties are sold out. Or the plants have been, many places don't take care of their plants well. Now, Aaron's Meadow does, but a
Yeah.
lot of places don't take care of their seedling plants with shade.
Yeah, I'm in Washington State right now.
But we
and
have a long season. You can plant tomatoes until July. Mhm.
Yeah, we
What, Toby?
I'm in Washington State right now, and our planting season is a little bit later.
Mhm.
So last weekend I was at nursery, and they had baby starts inside their greenhouse. And I bought a few starts, but they're also, I'm being really careful with them because right now for us
Mhm.
in this part of the country, our lows are typically in the 40s every night. And the highs are it can be anywhere from the 50s to the 60s to the 70s, and it's kind of going up and down. So if I put anything outside, it's going to have to be uh, under something, have to be protected. But for now, I'm kind of watching things and keeping things protected. And I'm going to start some seedlings, but only because it's late. We have a later season, but our growing season goes longer. It's interesting. It's more temperate.
Okay.
We go longer here in the fall. And then in
Oh, interesting.
Western Washington, it's much hotter and much drier. So it's interesting when you go in different parts of the country, for those folks who've moved new to East Tennessee, you're going to be, if you've moved from the north, you're going to be pleasantly surprised how well peppers and tomatoes do once it gets hot, you know.
And
Yeah.
boy,
But
does it get hot.
yeah, once it gets hot. But here
I
in
remember
Washington
summers
State,
in the 120s when I lived in Western Washington.
in Western or Eastern?
Western.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Because we were in a high plains desert called the Horse Heaven Hills.
Yeah, yeah. We
Oh,
get it.
gosh.
in Kitsap County, we're in like by Hood Canal, it will get in May or so, May or June, it'll stop raining and it really won't rain much until the fall, which is shocking to people. You know, you think of Western Washington as rainy all the time. But we also have like microclimate. So I'm in the shadow of the Olympic Mountains. And so in the summertime, that rain doesn't come near us. It's a really interesting, it's just interesting microclimate, both sort of micro macro where you are in a region, but also microclimate in your own yard, you know, in your own garden. So it's really fascinating to poke around in the garden and kind of figure out what grows where. Yeah, so.
Yeah. And what is it, particularly like with herbs and stuff, what is it?
What was that, Amy?
I think Amy's having a little Wi-Fi issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
No, sounds like folks can't hear me and they've
We can now.
frozen.
We can now.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what were you saying about herbs, Amy?
Okay, yeah, Wi-Fi. Okay, UT Gardens has a program called Adopt a Spot, and me and another gardener have adopted the herb spiral at UT Gardens. And we have noticed it's got different layers, and each layer has a different microclimate. And we've noticed some herbs do really well in certain locations in it.
Yeah.
And some just really interesting.
Yeah, I
And
mean, it's like different, like south facing, north facing, you know, it's just fascinating. In our orchard, the owners before us planted a bunch of a field of blueberry bushes, babies. And you know, we don't have irrigation here and we're not here all the time. And we weren't gonna keep all of the blueberries. So it was sort of survival of the fittest. So the blueberry bushes, it's about, and they're different varieties. So some of it's about the variety, but most of it is where the blueberry bushes are located. And there's certain parts where they're thriving
yeah,
and others where they've died out. And the where they're thriving is more, it gets a little bit of afternoon shade. And I think it's because it hasn't dried out and they get a little more water. So it's just so through that process, because I
okay.
didn't want all, you know, 30 blueberry bushes, through that process, I've been able to figure out where my blueberry patch should be. You know, sometimes I'll buy one plant
Yeah.
and put it in a spot in my garden and test it and see how it does before I invest in a bunch of plants for that space.
Yeah.
And I will let you know, I'm getting a periodic message saying my internet is unstable.
We're seeing that, Amy.
So I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, we'll
If
keep the
you're
conversation
watching the
going.
show, if I disappear, you can talk through the, um, through the photos. And I see that there are quite a few people watching us. If you're watching us live and want to comment, be sure to put a message in the comment video, and then we will see it and we can answer any questions you have. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and try to get sharing going again. And
Amy, since I have a
yes,
more stable internet connection, do you want me to share my screen and go to?
no, why don't you share? Yeah, because then if I drop off, then you can just
Okay.
keep going.
Okay, so.
And you should be able to just click through the slideshow.
Okay. Yeah, let me just
Yeah.
get there. I got the slideshow. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, and we were at just past the tomato and pepper and basil seedlings.
Okay.
Because we do have a really long season here,
Okay.
you know.
Deal.
And if you've already planted your tomatoes and peppers, you can put just a relatively light covering over nights, but be sure to take it off. Okay,
Can you see that?
There
so
we
is
are.
that next picture?
Okay.
Yes, I can see them. Yeah, that's a mandibelia, and I generally buy one every year. Just be careful, there's a plant that looks a lot the same called vine. I I have a trellis in a large container that I put that on. Okay, so this is, and that's all I have to say about that one. And I don't know if you haven't changed it or if I'm just not seeing it.
Okay, so I have up the
Okay.
yellow
Can you-
irises.
Okay, because I am not, my screen has, there it goes. Now I can see it. Okay, so it's been a really good iris year since we had the temperatures cool off.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, my iris have done better than for many years. Irises do benefit if you divide them every 3 to 5 years. And you do that about a month after they're done blooming is the best time to do that. But be sure if you have many different irises and want to keep track of which ones are which, be sure to mark them when they're flowering. That can come off.
Paige just
But
said
put a
hi.
tag with them. Hi, Paige. Glad you're joining us. Okay, so you can go on to the next picture if you haven't already.
I have, and it's your different blackberry.
Oh, okay. This is the Himalayan blackberry, which is not, which is a real weedy
Boo.
blackberry that produces small berries, and it tries to take over the world. And so this
We
is one
have
of the
a
banes
lot
of
of
my
this in our
existence.
yard. We have a ton, like you have to, we're gonna
Mhm.
have to brush hog it. It has actually big berries, but they're kind of bland and they
Yep.
really heavy duty seeds. But it grows,
Yep.
there's a reason it's so prolific. It grows actually two shoots, and a cane will go out and connect in the ground further away and grow another shoot. So it grows both underneath through root balls, but it also will send its canes out and start plants that way. So it's got multiple ways it's like spreading. So there's a reason it's so pernicious. It is something else. You want to beat this back early on because it will
Mhm.
take over your entire garden.
Yeah. Oh, this is crazy. Okay. I am seeing the next picture in the Facebook screen, but I'm not seeing it in our Zoom screen. Okay.
There,
So the next week, okay,
this is
is
a weed.
the with the little yellow flowers and looks sort of like clover. Um, it's actually can be fairly aggressive, but does have fertility. It's called black medic is its common name. And it can really cover an area if you want it to be a ground cover, but most people don't. It is one of those European plants that were brought in. And then, so next,
We've moved on to your
and I think my internet
double
is,
briar,
which one?
the double briar.
Okay, what is it? Around here, we tend to call that multiflora rose.
Yeah.
And it is an invasive weed. And if you look at it, it looks like single rose block. Each little flower is like a single rose, and its leaves look like a rose. And they are really a pretty bad invasive in our
They can
area.
host rose rosette too, which is a big problem.
Yes. And so this is the first year I've actually seen it on my property, and found it in like 3 different places. So some birds have been busy.
Pooping out seeds. Yeah. Yeah. Now you wanted to look at the
They
gall.
will eat the seed. Oh, okay. So the next one is some different galls and leaves, and they're generally
Amy, you've turned off your voice. There you go.
well, I dropped off entirely for
You know
a few
what
seconds
might
there.
help, Amy? Amy, it might help if you turn off your
What?
video and just
That's
have
right.
your audio while you're looking at slides, and
Mhm.
that will reduce
Okay,
the
let's try
bandwidth.
that.
Yeah.
See if that helps.
Yes,
Is that better?
much better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so what is it? And your stuff is still coming through on Zoom. Okay,
Yeah.
so and then whoever talks, their picture is going to show up if it's not me.
Uh-huh.
So galls like that usually aren't a problem. They're just a little bit of a leaf distortion. And there's different galls on different leaves. Maples, there can be these really cool horn-shaped galls on the leaves. So let's go on to the next one. But I just thought that was interesting. So I put a
Yeah,
couple
this is my parsley going to
interesting
seed.
photos.
Yeah. So it's going to it's bolting a
You can
little
talk about
early.
that.
Yeah, so my parsley's going to seed right now. I can still use the lower leaves in my soups and stews
Okay.
along that lines.
Mhm.
And then
So did you have the cilantro before that, or is yours in a different
so
order?
now's the cilantro is on the screen and it's going to seed. And so I'll need to cut it and put it in the
Okay.
freezer if I want to have it with
Mhm.
my salsa verde and my tomatillas.
Yeah. And well, and at
And
this
this
at
is a
that
close-up
stage, it's a little bit
of your
too
cilantro.
late.
Yeah.
What was that, Lee?
This is a close-up of Amy's
Okay, I'm
cilantro.
having a feeling you guys can't hear me at all, can you?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. The other thing we want to make sure folks know, when it gets warm, when the weather gets above 75 into the 80s, you're not doing anything wrong. Cilantro is a cool season vegetable, cool season herb, and it will go to seed when the weather gets hot. And hot for cilantro is 75 or 80 degrees. Okay. Oh, I know what's happening. I have it set to go the other direction.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Slideshow.
Okay. So this is
Okay.
my tomatoes in cages. Now we're coming up on a couple of 40 degrees nights, and so I'll need to cover these. I've got them in my hay bales.
Yeah, I see both hay bales and cages, and that's really
Yeah.
cool, Lee.
Yeah. And so it'll grow up by July. All my tomatoes will be growing all up over this fencing. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that, Lee. I'm sure not everybody knows about growing in hay bales.
Oh yeah. So you a month before you want to plant your
Kind of prep do
tomatoes.
you do for your hay bale?
Yeah. So what I do is I buy it at least a month ahead of time. And then I water it every day and I add some fertilizer like tomato tome. And then it starts to be spreadable and I take my hands down and I spread it open and I add some something, um, not soil, but like, for example, vermiculite is what I add. And then I plant my tomatoes in.
And we've all called those hay bales, but those are straw bales. Is that correct?
That's correct. They're straw bales.
You don't
And
want hay
but
bales.
you really don't
That's
want hay
right.
bales because you have too many seeds. But lately, the big box stores have been selling straw bales, and they've got too many seeds in them. So I have to go through and trim them. You can kind of see back here. There's a little bit of grass, hay growing.
So
And weed it.
what's the benefits of why choose this over just doing an raised bed?
So the benefit is one, I can put it in the same place every year because I'm basically starting out with new soil. The second
Ah,
is the straw bales um, uh, flow the water through really well, and so the tomatoes don't have wet feet when we have a lot of rain.
got
That's a
it.
big benefit. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's good, really good drainage.
So does it dry out more easily than planting in soil, or
No,
you're watering the same amount as you
I'm
would?
watering the same amount. Yep.
Hmm.
And you do have to go through several steps to condition them when you first get the straw bale. And that can take a little while. What's your
But you,
experience, Lee?
you got to water them every single day to get them ready so that they're starting to compost. Yeah,
And how long of a period is the watering every day?
a month.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now if you use inorganic fertilizer, you can get it ready in 2 weeks. There's a there's straw bale gardening books out there and stuff.
Yeah, I'd read about the fertilizer approach, but I
Yeah,
didn't realize inorganic. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so yeah, if I'm just using my organic and I'm just watering it every day, I gotta be there ready at least a month ahead of time. Now the lovely thing at the end of the season, I have this amazing soil and compost that I get to put on my flower beds. That when the tomatoes are all done,
Yeah, and that's a big plus.
it is a big plus. Yeah. Now I don't want to put them on my other vegetables because I don't want to, if some sort of tomato disease has started, that's why I clear this whole area and I make a compost pile over winter.
Lee, have you found that the tomato plants growing in the straw bales produce more than when you were planting just in your raised bed?
Um, they were equal.
Okay.
So, my one of the things that I have to watch is that I add, like, for example, compost tea or something along that lines, every month, to help it out. Um, and sometimes I even add some compost, fresh compost on top, around the tomatoes. Whereas, you know, one of the things about tomatoes, they get down to the clay, and the clay is really rich in minerals, and it's very happy with that, but it's not happy with when it rains a lot and it gets wet roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you get worms crawling up into the bales?
Yes, I do.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
And the roots of the tomato goes, now I put a layer of cardboard underneath my straw bales,
Yeah.
and I find that it's all disintegrated by the time at the end of the seasons when I'm pulling out, and the roots have gone all the way down into through the cardboard and into the dirt, maybe as far as a foot.
And the
Wow.
cardboard has another benefit. It attracts worms up into the bale. The worms like to eat the
Yes,
cardboard and
they do.
particularly the glue.
Yes,
Yeah.
they do. They do. They're happy. We're very happy with that. Yeah.
Whenever somebody's establishing a compost pile, it's great to put cardboard down at the bottom for that same reason.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So do you grow anything else, or have you grown anything else in straw bales?
I have attempted, so I had a book and I attempted to grow everything at one point in time, and I found failures. So, like, for example, zucchini is too heavy to grow.
Mm.
And strawberries, I had to put too much soil on the top in order for the strawberries to be happy. And I like to, I don't know if you can see or not, but I have a marigold there in between the two tomatoes. And I have little basil seedlings in between of my other tomato plants back there. So, I do a little companion gardening along with that. But yeah, the peppers do okay. They do fine, but they don't like being near the tomatoes. So I tend to put them in the ground someplace else where I can rotate.
Yeah.
And I've done potatoes in the straw bales, and they're extremely happy. But I had a friend tell me a story about finding a snake among the straw bales with the potatoes. Um,
Yeah, it makes a nice cozy home for a snake.
uh, yeah,
Makes a nice cozy home for a snake.
it does. Yeah. So, yeah, yeah. And so, I have grown some lettuce. I've grown, um, um, some, but yeah, the only big fail was I didn't have enough support set up for the zucchinis or the yellow squash. Yeah. Yeah, and so the fencing to me, I've got both cages in there and then the fencing around there.
Yeah.
It's really important to have good support for the vines that are growing up.
Yeah.
Uh, the other thing that has a tendency to start in these beds on its own is Malabar, and they grow up all along the fencing. But they sort of,
Malabar spinach.
yeah, Malabar spinach, yeah. Some people call it red vein spinach, but it's from Southeast Asia.
Mm.
But it loves warm seasons, has beautiful pink blooms, and sometimes I've even created an arch of it. But it's an aggressive reseeder. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, I've grown a variety of things in straw bales.
Fun.
Yeah.
And guys, Amy is contributing to the comments. The bandwidth is interfering with her live participation, but you can check out what she's saying there. She says peppers do great in straw bales, especially if we have lots of rain.
Mm. Okay. And then this is planted in ground is my yellow squash seedlings are coming up.
Yeah, these are better. I tested one year, I think I've mentioned this before, tested growing cucumbers indoors by seedlings and growing them outdoors by just planting seeds in the ground. And
Mhm.
I found that the seeds in the ground, I planted the seedlings at the same time I put seeds in the ground. And the ones with seeds in the ground, those that I direct sowed, those plants were more vigorous and grew faster than the seedlings.
Because they
So
don't like their roots being disturbed. Yeah.
yeah, and so I think this is the same for squash and, things that are, they just do better. And there's no point in taking up space and time and energy inside your house or garage or wherever you're growing from starts. That just doesn't make any sense. And also did not buy starts from the store because, you could just get seeds for like, a fraction of the price and just pop them in, you know, especially in the soil and especially in the, you know, the warm, you know, when it's getting warm in East Tennessee. Do you do anything for your squash when you're planting this early? Do you do anything to protect them in the nighttime?
So I've done this in the round, and so I've got a big bucket
Uh-huh.
that I can put over the top of this when it gets into the 40s. When
Uh-huh.
some 40 nights come up, that I'll put over the top of this.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and then this is my potatoes that are coming up, and some. I also have some cilantro growing there. And then this is my black raspberries that are starting to fruit. And so I think in about a week, which is 3 weeks early for them, I'm going to have black raspberries. I get about a cup a day off my black raspberries for 3 weeks. Where I was growing up, we called them black caps. The way they sort of peel off, little, you know they're ripe when they're really black, and they just easily come off.
So what kind of maintenance do you need to do on these berries?
Okay, so in the fall, what I do is I cut off all the things that fruited in the last season, and then
Okay.
I cut down to about 2 feet tall, my
Okay.
canes, and that's what will produce fruit on the next year. So in the fall, I'm cutting these all back to about 2 feet tall.
So
And
it grows on old wood.
yeah, it's second year canes is what the fruits. Yeah.
So you don't have to kind of pick and choose which canes you're cutting back. You can cut
Yep.
back all of them.
Yep. I cut back all of them. Yep.
Hmm.
And then you can tell the ones that had previously fruited, you cut them all the way back to the ground.
Oh, got it. Okay. So you do have to kind of pay attention to what fruited and what didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So
it's also usually kind of crunchy and
so
deadly.
the fruiting canes you cut back to the ground, the non-fruiting canes you cut back to 2 feet.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. How long has this bed been here?
I planted these in 2017.
So it just that amount of pruning keeps them to the bed.
Yeah.
They don't like overgrow like a Himalayan blackberry would.
No, well, they try to go into the next bed. I
Okay.
dig them up and I give them away to people. Yeah.
Okay. So you have been thinning.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So berries, this kind of berry, caneberry, does take more maintenance, I think, than a blueberry would.
Yes.
Do you agree
Yeah.
with that?
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's pretty happy with this. Is a lot of times where I put my old straw bales, that
Mm.
because it has really rich soil,
Mhm.
and so I will put a lot of that straw and compost all over into this bed, and it's been really happy with that.
Okay. So they're pretty heavy feeders.
Yeah, they
Do
are.
you have to compost throughout the growing season as well, or you just do that in the fall?
I just do that. I just do that in the fall.
Okay.
Mhm.
And do these berries ripen all basically at the same time, or are they growing and ripening throughout the season?
They have about a 3 week period.
Okay. So you're picking and maybe freezing or canning
Yeah.
or
Or
Mhm.
I'm eating.
Eating. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was a kid, my aunt had black caps, and she also had 3 cows. And for breakfast, we would have these black raspberries and fresh cream. And so
Mm.
I'm recreating my childhood.
Yeah.
no good reason. That sounds delicious.
We used to have strawberries that way. Strawberries with cream and a little bit of sugar. Yeah.
No
And
sugar.
then cucumbers with salt and pepper and vinegar, like sliced really thin.
Mhm.
Yeah. Big bowl, big,
We
huge
we
bowl.
call those refrigerator pickles. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Do you remember anything from your childhood, Margot? Anything that you used to eat from the garden?
I love peaches and cream. In fact, in the fifth grade, was it, the teacher asked us our favorite dessert, and I didn't know why she was asking this. So I wrote peaches and cream, and she was asking it for somebody's birthday party to figure out the best refreshment. And it's like I felt like such a doofus. They were going to do peaches and cream. My mother loves figs and milk, and that's a good
Interesting.
combination too.
Interesting. I've never had figs and milk.
Oh, I've got a fig tree, and I would make fig ice cream for my mother, who
Oh my
also
gosh.
adored
Oh,
figs. Yes. So you would freeze your figs, add some yogurt and a little bit of stevia, and some I use some designer whey, and you blend it all together in the Vitamix, and you have soft serve fig ice cream.
oh, healthy.
Tasty.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what I've done here is, you see I've used some old fencing, and at the base of the fence on the other side is my cucumbers. They're going to grow up and then shade my lettuces, which will help extend their season.
So smart.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's what I did there. And then
I like
yeah,
I like your walkaways that you've got there with the pavers. Are those pavers that circle some of the beds?
yeah, uh-huh, yep,
Nice.
yep. And then I have that sort of square spot is where I will burn yard trash, and I'll use some of that ash on top of my some of my
Biochar.
biochar. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Those.
Um, Lee, do you choose particular lettuce varieties that are more suited for warm season?
No,
Or you just kind of choose the kind you like?
I choose the kind I like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Although there is some mustard growing in there, and I've got a lot of arugula.
Yeah.
Arugula. Once you let it go to seed, you have arugula everywhere forever. Yeah, yeah. Mm.
Paige says, "Hi, ladies. Thank you for sharing your wealth of knowledge. My baby just woke up, so I have to log out. Will there be a link where I can continue watching?" Yes, we will be posting in the guides the video, and then we have a YouTube channel as well. So come back and you can watch the rest.
Mhm. Now, this is Amy's, and I think this is her garlic.
Oh yeah, that's what my garlic looks like.
Yeah. Hmm.
I had to leave it oh, it looks like she's getting escape on the far left. If you see that little kind of thing at the very top, looks like on the far left, there's a little this kind of goes like this. I think that's the top of a garlic scape.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
Yep, she's got scapes coming up. I'm gonna have to ask my husband if he's seeing scapes on our garlic because he's still back in East Tennessee.
Oh,
Because once it kind of curls over, then it's time you can cut that scape and you can eat it, chop it up. It's yummy. I mean, you can eat it anytime, but I think Amy, and correct me if I'm wrong, but once it curls over, it's time to harvest the garlic.
which is a little early.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
wait with the garlic till there are like three leaves left and harvest then. So it'll be a little bit longer.
Hmm.
yeah. To die, is it dying back? I can't. I
Yeah.
don't know why I'm having a senior moment at the moment on my garlic.
Scapes are in spring and then the garlic leaves die back. Garlic's ready to harvest around July, maybe. Chime in, Amy, if that's off.
Hmm. The scapes on the far left, between the walking Egyptian onions.
Amy says she does onions between different varieties of garlic.
Oh,
Okay.
so that might be onions, not scapes.
Yes, so that is yeah, this is probably the walking Egyptian onion. Okay. Yeah.
I was wondering, I was like, wow, she's got scapes already.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. And then this is some of her now what did she call that?
Sea
Amy-
kale.
sea kale. Yeah. Yep.
And
And
sea kale is kind of perennial here. It's hardier than regular kale, and I think does well across the summer, maybe. Perennial sea kale.
okay. Perennial sea kale, lovely. And then she had some peas.
And she's protecting the bottoms with some yogurt containers
Mm-hmm.
so the
And
critters
she
don't
says
get 'em.
she planted those in part sun.
Okay. So they'll last a little longer in this as we warm up. And then this is back to your seedlings.
Eh.
Yep, these are her seedlings that she's growing.
And she says the sea kale has migrated to even shadier places, so it likes the shade here.
Okay. Now, I don't know what this is. Is
It
that a
might
rose?
be, it looks like a bonsai pepper, maybe.
Let's see if she
Oh.
chimes in.
Yeah, I know that bonchi or bonsai pepper, I know that Amy will keep her peppers year after year and trim them back a little bit. That way you can have pepper fruit faster.
Mhm. Mm. That looks like some morning glory coming up. I wonder if I'm going the wrong direction for her.
She says go the other direction of the slideshow to get to the rest of the photos.
Okay.
Wee, that's fast. That's fun. All right, these are photos we had. Oh no, we saw those.
Uh-huh.
That golden iris is just gorgeous.
Uh-huh. That she said this was an invasive weed.
And
Okay.
that pepper we saw is a 3-year-old Tabasco pepper.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So
Yep. And I see bindweed in there.
Uh-oh.
Yep. Yeah, the heart-shaped stuff. Yep. That's bindweed. But I don't know what she's showing this is a bed of that's just starting up. And oh, there's her milkweed that's
Aw.
it's grown this week, and she said it's that this tall in just a week.
And guys, watching, if you're growing milkweed, especially for the first year, you prune it back because it's the leaves that the butterflies depend on, if I'm remembering correct. So Google to learn about how to optimize your milkweed for pollinators, for
Yeah.
butterflies.
Yep. Yep. You want to do about half of them, prune them back, not all of them. So you give a nice set, because it will sometimes that what they do is they plant their eggs on the flowers. Yeah.
So you got to kind of average the benefits there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And this was a native. I don't remember which one. This one was in her yard. She's also got grapes growing. Is that bee balm?
Might be.
Yeah. There's my bee balm. It's blooming along with my sedums. Natives. And here is my Echinacea tennessees. It's a native to Tennessee coneflower that's just getting ready to bloom. And then my butterfly weed is coming up. There's a lot of times that I see caterpillars on the butterfly weed, especially just as it comes up. I saw my first monarch here week before last in my garden. And then one of my favorite perennials is catmint.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
We have catmint in our place.
Mhm.
It's very hardy.
Yes.
And I find if I just trim up the dead wood around it, it looks like in the early spring,
Uh-huh.
it starts to bush out and look a little bit better, a little less scraggly.
Yep.
I'm finding one of my favorite perennials is yarrow. It's really good for the soil, and it comes back looking really good. It dies back. There's not a lot of maintenance for yarrow.
And
Uh,
also the foliage is pretty all winter long
yeah, yeah. So
for
we have
yarrow.
yarrow in our pollinator garden as well. And yarrow, when you plant guilds in permaculture,
Mhm.
plant often you'll do plant guilds around the bottom of a fruit tree, for example, like an apple tree. Yarrow is one of the plants that is featured in permaculture. So it's a good one. It's got multiple benefits.
And it's a really good herb, for example, for stopping the flow of blood. And one of its common name is Battlefield
Hmm.
because you would grab a hold of it and put it on a wound that you had, and it would stop the flow of blood.
Hmm.
Fascinating. Well, guys, we're at 9:53. Um, One thing I want to talk about before we finish, and we've got a new slide here. I want to tell about my new neighbor on my front deck, which is a robin with a nest, and her babies, her eggs have hatched. She's busy getting worms. We
Oh.
talked last week about, or the week before, about being mindful of bird nests in shrubs when you're working, pulling off vines and things. A neighbor had a situation where she was pulling a vine off of one of our what is it, wax myrtles, and the branch whiplashed, and there was a robin and a nest and eggs, and disrupted all of that.
Mm.
Yeah, so can't be too careful.
Yeah, I had a couple weeks ago when I was still in Tennessee. In sometimes the bunnies like to nest and give birth in a raised bed, especially there's one near our house. And I saw a little teenage bunny jumping around in in the bed. Unfortunately, the next day I saw that parts of that teenage bunny. And the bunnies, it's heartbreaking, but they're also part of the food chain. But if you see bunny nests, just leave them alone. A couple of years ago, I had like tiny little pinkies that I was like
Aw.
digging out I was digging out like um, weeds and stuff from my bed, getting it ready, and I disrupted a nest. But the cats are pretty, we've got predators, and unfortunately, household cats are also predators of bunnies. But yeah,
Dogs will also kill them.
Yeah, my
yeah,
50-pound dog thinks he's a predator of bunnies, but he's on a leash and I hold him back. But it gets to
yeah,
be quite a struggle holding a 50-pound dog back who's lunging trying to get to a bunny.
yeah, yeah.
And the bunnies don't seem to appreciate that and they linger.
Yeah, yeah. And they're not, the teenage bunnies, they're only about this big. They have their fur and they're hopping, but they're not as fast as the adult bunnies. So they really can't like really outrun a predator. Or, there's also birds, predatory birds that are going after bunnies and chipmunks and whatnot. But it was tough when I first saw that nest. I did a lot of research on bunnies, and a very small percentage of baby bunnies actually make it.
Yeah.
And I had to resolve myself to the fact that there is an ecosystem out there, and bunnies are part of the life cycle. So,
And
but they sure are cute.
bunnies reproduce prolifically, which helps overcome that fatality. But it always hurts my heart to see a lost bunny shreds or anything like that. And the same for run over possums.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We've got a woodchuck groundhog under our deck, and we've been fixing our deck, and that thing is huge. It's probably this big. And I think it's cute, but it will like dig into your footings, and it will dig in, and it will disrupt your foundation of your house. I mean, it's not good to have them living right next to your house. So my husband is thinking about getting pest control in, but it's a tough one for me. I kind of go back and forth on it. I'm glad I'm not going to be the one making that decision, but we've been rebuilding our deck, and we thought that would kind of scare it away because we pulled back. We had some rotting deck boards, and so half the deck is like pulled apart. The deck boards are, and it's still there. Chris, my husband, sent me a picture of it underneath one of our cherries, just watching, waiting for the new roof to go on his house.
They're adorable. And viewers chime in on this. I will say the builder of a tiny house community told his daughter he had heard that groundhogs damage foundations, but as a builder, he'd never seen that happen. We had one
Okay.
living under our decks, and boy, they can move fast.
Yeah.
But if anybody watching has had damage from groundhogs or know personally somebody whose foundation has been damaged, put that in comments to share with the
Yeah.
rest of us.
Yeah. And it's interesting because it's just a single groundhog. And I'm like, where is the mate? Where are the babies?
I
And
wouldn't be asking that, Toby.
huh? I
I,
know. Well, you know what I mean? Knock on wood. But most animals do reproduce. But I will tell you this, I planted overwintered some vegetables in pots around the deck, and everything is nibbled down. Everything is nibbled down, like the parsnip leaves, the all the lettuces got nibbled down. Once the groundhog came out of hibernation, it was like game over, because he or she, I don't know if it's a male or female, was nibbling down in the fall, and then went into hibernation, is now out and now nibbling again. And I just had to give up my garden. I was like, okay, well, this is unless I really want to get after like protecting every little pot. And I was leaving anyway, but here it'll be protecting against deer.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'll have to put things in a protected space.
We've got 1 minute left, but lots of people deal with deer. What are you going to be doing as a preventative or trying to?
Um, Ultimately, interestingly enough, my neighbor has a garden inside a fence, and her fence is really only 6 feet tall, which I found fascinating because we do have deer, and they will eat. They do. Sometimes it's sharing. We have apple trees, and you can't, unless you want to put a fence all the way around your orchard. The deer, and I thought most deer can jump really high, but she said they don't. They don't go over the 6 foot fence. But for me right now, instead of building a fence, I have a grow house that used to have poly on it, polyplastic, that we've taken down because it was getting torn, but it's a big grow house. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap just about 6 feet around on each side of the grow house. It's big wooden ribs, so that the deer can't see inside. And I'm going to do some raised beds or gardening in pots this year, because we haven't really decided our final garden plan, and I want to grow vegetables. But why not use what I have, right? I have the structure of a grow house. I just need to block it so the deer can't see.
Yeah. Well, report back on how that works. It sounds promising. And Brenda Berry Eagle is watching, and she says She has a groundhog and hers tore her carport up. She found shoes, papers, plastic bags, I'm sure all shredded. And she said to add insult to injury, he ate all her strawberries in her plants. Just like you, Toby. So they're not the best neighbors, but they sure are cute.
They're super cute, but but when I was researching online, there were claims that it does damage your, yeah. So, yeah, we have to, I think making decisions with sharing our lives with animals, and sometimes we have to make tough decisions. But we had in our neighborhood had skunks digging in the lawn looking for grubs. So they were damaging people's turf grass. And for me, I was like, that's all right. Get those grubs. We don't want our grubs in our turf grass anyway. So it wouldn't have bothered me, but it bothered our neighbor. So our neighbor had the exterminator come out and trap the skunks. But for me, that just wasn't enough of a nuisance.
Well, Brenda
Uh,
asks if you've tried baby powder. Brenda, is that for groundhogs? And while we're waiting for you to reply, our groundhog migrated away somewhere. He was here. We loved him. I didn't see him dead in the road, but he went on to be somebody else's neighbor after us.
So how long did he live with you guys? Was he there?
Only like a month and a half, maybe or so. He lived
Oh,
underneath my next door neighbor's deck, and he could get through the tiniest places. And he would sense you if you were watching, and then dart under there.
yeah,
But yeah, I missed him afterwards, but we were kind of relieved he'd moved on.
yeah.
And
Our guy,
Brenda does say baby powder about the groundhog, so try that and let us know.
so baby powder like under the deck?
Or maybe around where the groundhog goes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Lee's
Oh.
trying to get us to stop talking.
Amy's like, it's 9 o'clock. It's 10 o'clock. I'm sorry. It's 7 o'clock here. I got up at 5:30.
Oh my gosh. Well, guys, it's been wonderful. We got a great slideshow. We missed out on Amy, unfortunately, with her wireless connection cutting in and out, mostly out, but she's commented there in the thread.
Okay, so she said she's making me host. So does that mean I'm going off of Facebook? Now I have to remember. Let's see. How do we stop the Facebook Live? Ooh, let's see here. I think I gotta close that out, and I think
Things fall apart, guys, when we don't have Amy to master our
right. Well, I usually have my instructions with me. Oh, I know. We do it down here. We do more, and we say stop live stream. There we go. All right, everybody. We'll see you here same time, same place next week. Take care and happy gardening.
Bye-bye, folks.